Peace be upon you, my dear friend, and upon your household. We're told in James chapter 4, verse 7, Submit yourselves therefore to God. Resist the devil, and he will flee from you. We're told in 1 Peter chapter 5, verse 8, Be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary the devil, as a roaring lion, walketh about, seeking whom he may devour. We read in 1 Timothy chapter 6, verse 12, Fight the good fight of faith. We have resist. We have fight. These are action words. They require work. We must work to resist Satan. We must work to fight the good fight of faith, but it is a fight of faith, and faith always means trust or rest in God. Resisting the devil must be done in the power of God, as Peter tells us in 1 Peter chapter 5, verse 9, whom resist steadfast in the faith. What am I trying to say? It is possible to work and rest at the same time if the work is done in the power of God. Anything done in the power of God is an expression of trust in God, and consequently, it is a work of rest. We are to resist the devil on Sabbath. We are to fight the good fight of faith on Sabbath. We must hold fast our crowns on Sabbath. This is a kind of work, but it is done in and through the power of God. Consequently, at the highest level, it represents trust in God. It represents rest in God. We cannot rest from right doing on the Sabbath. We cannot rest from holiness on the Sabbath. The Bible tells us in Psalm 106, verse 3, Blessed are they that keep judgment, and he that doeth righteousness at all times. This means 7 days a week we engage in the God-empowered work of right doing. We engage in the God-empowered work of resisting the devil. As you keep the Sabbath holy, remember this. There is a work that must be done on Sabbath. What is that work? The work of righteousness. What is that work? The work of resisting Satan. But that work can only be done in the power of God. And the fact that you and I do that work in the power of God means we are resting in God, because ultimately Sabbath observance is an experience of rest in God more than it is an experience of resting from secular labor. It is an experience of resting in God, and right doing is an act of resting in God because it is done in the power of God. Resisting the devil is an act of resting in God because it must be done in the power of God, or it must be done trusting God. My dear friend, we are to rest from secular labor. We do not rest from righteousness. We do not rest from holiness. There is a spiritual work that must be done on the Sabbath, which is the work that is done all during the week, which is, whether therefore ye eat or drink or whatsoever ye do all to the glory of God, which means everything we do must have a spiritual motivation, and that lifestyle crescendos on the seventh-day Sabbath. Rest from work, rest from secular activities, but there is no rest from holiness. There is no rest from right doing. There is no rest from righteousness. There is no rest from resisting Satan. That work of right doing, that work of resisting the devil, when done in the power of God, and there is no other way for it to be done, when done in the power of God, it is the highest form of spiritual rest. As you keep the Sabbath holy, rest in the power of God to sustain you. Rest in the power of God to provide for you, and ultimately rest in the power of God to fit you and your family for a place in his kingdom when he comes. May the Lord bless you, doubly bless your children as you keep the Sabbath holy.